night, but it was still news filtering about the situation yesterday and today. Plus, and we're not done with it. More is going to happen, obviously. Um, Also, I didn't want to be on too late. Like I'm starting to have a disdain for late night lives, unless it's like unless it's with a guest or I was just really anticipating doing it at that time. But otherwise, I'll do it at this time. And if people are here, they're here. If they're not, they're not. Pfft, whatever. What I am going to do though is make sure this is public because I'm not sure if I pre-configured it correctly to make sure that this was public. Mm, it is okay. It I forgot to turn the monetization on. Let me put that on because that would help. um, yeah, so my mobile vertical stream does say the visibility is public. Okay. And it says the monetization is now on after I just switched it. So there you go. We are live. And I'm about to move so you guys can see my new little setup from YouTube. But first, let me get myself spiffy. Streamers often will fix themselves up as they go along, even though they're already live. It happens. So, yeah. Um, okay. Yeah, move. All right, let me move my keyboard here. It's in my way. Out, out, my way. Blick. Actually, I'm gonna just keep it on my lap here. And yeah. Oh, let me move this light. Doesn't need to be there. But here we go. Let me chat filter. So yeah, there we go, guys. As you can see, I have my little YouTube poster above me of sorry, it's backwards. So hello to everyone in the chat. Um, I'm gonna be a little bit mean to a few YouTubers out there. So what? I don't care. Um, this is about a guy who is part of the Passport Bro movement who has been arrested in Brazil and Sao Paulo for allegedly being part of a sex trafficking ring by a guy named by the Floyd L. Wallace Jr. Yes, I put out his full name, but it doesn't matter because it was already put out there by many other YouTubers yesterday, including the Brazilian police that apprehended him, and they came dressed in black. So it was serious. They didn't come in their little you know class blue uniforms. They came in their SWAT outfits and served an arrest warrant for him. So at this point, I'm not even sure if I want to keep using the Passport Bro moniker to label what I do as far as traveling. I I think I'm just going to stick to saying I'm a black guy who likes to travel. um, it's just weird because the my thing is So this guy was well known within the Passport Bro movement amongst the other content creators, and they had to have known something was off about the guy. I've never seen not one person in the space speak up about this guy being a weirdo. He's obviously on the spectrum. Like, he's fucking weird as shit. He looks like a fucking loser. Um, and he was just so cringe. But the people he was around never said anything about it. And I'm calling out Austin Holloman on that. That was his boy. That was his boy. He was in several of his videos. Austin Holloman. Shout out to him. But he was in his videos, so you know, what are you gonna do? So as I deal with a few trolls, um, keep this going. Um, like I said, I consider myself part of the Passport Bro movement, but I get I'm starting to get tired of saying not all of us, not all of us, not all of us. When the guy who coined the term BMT Live, you know, he had a Facebook page, and he turned which he and then he further developed a mobile app just for his pass for the Passport Bros. But he himself allowed problematic people into the space. One of them people is Floyd. Now he's calling him Sicko Floyd, but you allowed him in the space. It's like you cannot tell me that you did not find something mentally off with this guy. Um, I think I might show something. I usually don't, but I think I might show some of this on my uh, here on my TV. Um, and I'm gonna just say fair use, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about here, because I'm pretty sure most of you don't know what I'm talking about. So in the in the practice of fair fair use, I'm going to show a little bit about what I'm talking about here, because this stuff is crazy. Shout out to BMT Live for first first bringing this to everyone's attention, and we'll go from there. We'll like like I said, we'll see. Um, and and there's so many videos out about it right now, and I don't even know where to start. I'm guessing I should start with BMT Live because I think he was the first one to put it out there, and he called him Sicko Floyd, which he is. I'm just gonna show snippets because I'm not used to doing fair use sharing on my lives or on my videos, long form videos. So not exactly sure how to navigate this in a reasonable manner, but I am going to attempt to do so here. You guys give me a so this is the video by BMT Live. He says Sicko Floyd going to prison. Excuse me, going to prison in Brazil, and um, the title says "Travel YouTuber Floyd arrested in Brazil." So here we go.
They hit him with that pepper spray or that mace off the rip. Yeah, they got him. They got old boy. They got him.
So
Yep.
all right, so that gives you a clue to what I'm talking about. So it, so to reiterate, so there's a YouTuber. he has, I think he's had several YouTube channels, um, but he was known in the Passport Bro movement, uh, for making content and basically e-begging on live streams when he went to places like Brazil and Thailand, the Philippines, and other places. He had a very cringe way of talking with the women. He looked, it was just obvious that the dude was on the spectrum, that he's neurodivergent in some form. Um, and a lot of viewers on BMT Live and on others are saying, also with Zoom to Thailand with Richie Mack, a lot of viewers like myself are saying, guys, you knew something was off with that man. Why is like why are you acting so shocked that this guy is now caught up in this trafficking thing? And it's horrible because we're not talking about like teenage girls like who could one could mistake for a young woman. These were young children, young. Okay, and it wasn't that he was allegedly having um gotta be careful how I say stuff. It wasn't that he himself was having um coitus with them. Is that he was basically part of an operation where used he used rideshare apps and um, fraudulent identities to transport these underage kids to other expats for the purposes of sex. And apparently he has been watched for a while through like Angel Watch, um, and the local authorities in Brazil. And this is how they finally caught up with him. And like I said, if you guys have seen, I need to pull up some older videos of him so people can see why the dude was so fucking weird. But he came off as autistic, cringe, um, and he was like an example of what people made fun of when they thought of Passport Bros. Like he was the embodiment of that. He was the embodiment of it on one end, and then them old fat retired guys were the other stereotype of the Passport Bros. And it's like at this point, it's become so problematic. I don't even think I want to claim the term anymore. Okay. Let me look at some more. Let me bring up some more stuff. And by the way, if I'm going to ignore retarded comments. I'm glad that YouTube can let me say the R word again because some of you are fucking retarded. Don't think I'm going to respond to you. Yes, I'll see the comments. No, I'm not going to respond if you're saying stupid shit. I don't I don't abide low IQ people. I pretty much abhor you and think you're fucking morons and should be put out of your misery. And it would do the human civilization. It would do the human race a lot of a huge favor if you just took yourself out of the gene pool. That's how I feel about you.
The Ministry of Justice. Oh, it's a little place block. Let me move on to the next one. All right, here we go. So, according to testimony, a foreign man requested the transportation of children and adolescents in applications cars without attending the place of boarding. So basically, it looked like he was arranging rides for the girls. All right. From a distance, he coordinated trips, providing validation codes, guiding
Fair
drivers
use, guys. Fair use. Fair use.
Like I said, the full article is attached. It's linked in the description, guys. The drivers, and he basically got caught by the drivers. The drivers also reported the minors were taken to meet an older foreign man who did not speak Portuguese. In several situations, children and adolescents showed that they did not know exactly what they would find or where they were going. Yeah, yeah, this is crazy. This is breaking news. This just happened. This is crazy.
Fair use. So yeah, the guy is off. Like, and I'm gonna probably get in trouble with this, but these country ass niggas from the south are just they're embarrassing when they go overseas because they're so fucking goofy. Like he's one of them from Omaha, Nebraska. Like these, I don't want to be mean, but again, some of you ninjas from the south are just corny as shit. Y'all should stay your corny asses at home. Before he started his passport bro thing though, when he was traveling, he had already had a YouTube channel where he was a prank influencer or whatever you want to call it, where he went around trolling the police and has had like 13 had arrests in 13 different states. 13 arrests in different states from harassing and trolling the police and then filming it on his channel. And so, yeah, Kel Surprise, when you have like 13 arrests and you're always getting into it with law enforcement, you're probably going to have trouble finding women in the United States. I don't know. So that already shows he's off. Like, why are you trolling the police? Like, you are lucky that he was lucky that he didn't get shot in his little altercations where he went out of his way to provoke police just so he could catch it on camera and put it on his channel. That is how he started off. Okay. And then, like I said, when he became a passport bro, like he was just doing cringy shit. Like he'd be in Thailand, um, buttering up some girl saying, "Yeah, this is wifey material, guys. This is who I'm gonna wifey up." The very next week, he's in the Philippines with Austin Holloman bragging about how he's fucking all these women. I remember that. This was 3 years ago. This was like 2022, late 2022, I believe. And now, and so Austin Holloman, a lot of people are calling him out like, "Yo, that was your boy. Why didn't like? How did you not know it was something off with that Negro?" And so Austin Holloman is now saying, "Well, it's that that allegedly Floyd Wallace is fucked up in the head because of all the red pill content and all the passport bro content." Like seriously, Austin Howman at one point was the king of the passport bros. Like he was like crowned, the the face of the passport bro movement back 3 years ago until he disavowed it because again he saw a lot of problems in the passport bro movement back then. Did that not include your homeboy? Like, what's up with that? You know what I'm saying? Did he not did he not see problems with his homie? And the question came to mind, uh, if he's not doing his live streams, because he normally made money through live streaming and begging for money from his audience. He hadn't done that in several months, so people were wondering, like, okay, so how is he supporting his lifestyle overseas? And now we know how, allegedly. I gotta keep saying allegedly. Actually, I don't have to say alleged. You know what? I'm not gonna even say allegedly because this isn't in America. So he's not he doesn't have Brazilian. He doesn't have permanent residence in Brazil. So he's he doesn't get due process there. He's a foreigner who is there quasi legally, as basically he's there. Well, he was there as a guest, so it's I don't know Brazilian law. Someone who knows Brazilian law, feel free to fill us in, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't get due process. There might be a legal process that he goes through as a guest in the country, but I'm guessing like here in America, you foreigners don't get due process. They do get a legal process they go through um, in our court system, but due process is only for American citizens. So I'm pretty sure it's probably the same in Brazil. Like I'm pretty sure he doesn't get due process, but there's some gonna be some sort of legal process. The the other issue is that they take PDF very seriously in Brazil, according to people who were talking about this yesterday. That often people accused of this can find themselves dismembered, um, or or beaten up when they go through when they go through being booked and arrested and booked and put into detainment their until their hearings. Uh, and apparently they have to put people with sexual crimes in a separate part of the jails to keep them from being deleted by by the by the general population in those jails. So he's he's not in for a good way. He like you do not want to be in a jail in a third world country, especially with a charge like that. And you were doing it to their locals, and you may be part of a sex trafficking gang known within Brazil. That's crazy. That's really crazy, especially someone who started off his YouTube career harassing police. The irony that you started off your YouTube career harassing police, and now you're getting arrested in another country, and the police are probably the only ones that'll keep the other criminals from deleting you. Yeah, he again, he's definitely. I would put all my Christmas money on the fact that that dude is on the spectrum, every bit of it. I need to find you guys a snippet to show you why I've come to that conclusion that the dude is on the spectrum. Let me like, all right, let me go back to this.
This is crazy, bro.
Let me see if BMT has showed any of his stuff from the past, because like he's only bringing up like the current stuff in this stream, but he did like two streams on this yesterday. Yeah, this isn't the one. Um, might have to look at another one and another one. Speaking of deleted, you guys heard that Nicki Minaj deleted her Instagram channel yesterday or the other day, after her fiasco where she stumped for she went and talked to Turning Point USA and showed through her support to the late Charlie Kirk and to Donald Trump. All her barbs left her. Her barbs felt betrayed, so she lost 10 million followers. 10 million followers on her Instagram, so she just shut down the page. Uh, Now that is what I call getting canceled. All right, here's the other one. Okay. But yeah, the fact that Austin Holloman is trying to blame the red pill, the red pill manosphere, and Passport Bros for his friend Floyd, because it was his friend. I don't care what he says, for his friend being a part of this depraved activity. It's like, nah, son, nah. You're just gonna have to hold the L on this one. You're going to have to hold the L. So find some more content here. And again, fair use, guys. Fair use.
Timo 50 Cent about to get a visit from the FBI. I guess you're talking about Floyd. Yeah, Floyd. He's cooked, man. He's cooked. He's
Floyd would his
fair
best
use,
case
fair
would
use,
be
fair
that
use.
the U.S. extradites him. If I'm him, I'm hoping that happens. Instead of waiting out of it.
Yeah, and even then, even when he gets extradited to America, they find out that he.
And so we don't know if he's going to get extradited to America or they're going to keep him there.
And like I said before, somebody got a little upset with me because I was like, I don't know how Floyd even was able to travel after all, the criminal record that he had, 13 arrests and all that shit.
See?
And somebody was like, hey man,
13 arrests.
Just that other people get passports and all that. But I was like, damn, some people shouldn't be able to get passports, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm surprised he didn't get hit with the Brazil and Colombia. A lot of countries have that undesirable, like, mark list. I mean, you won't come to the country if they feel like you were undesirable.
So what he's talking about is how is it that someone who already had 13 prior arrests was able to get a passport? Guys, what he doesn't understand is pretty much anyone can get a passport. You can be a felon, you can get a passport. You can still be like on parole and probation and get your passport. But there are certain things that block you from getting a passport. One is having back child support. If you have back child support, no passport. If you've ever been convicted of international drug trafficking, no passport. If you've been convicted of treason, no passport. Outside of those things, you can still get a passport. Now, as far as what countries would allow you into their country, entry into their country, that is a different topic. Like you can get a passport despite your legal past being checkered. However, different countries have different criteria for letting people into their countries. And stuff like this is going to make it harder for legit people to get entry into countries, particularly black men. He's basically made black men look bad, and specifically the guys who call themselves passport bros. So I know for myself I would not be using that moniker. Even if I still call myself a passport bro, I won't be using that um, as I travel to these countries because I don't want that stigma attached to me. Um, it's it's getting bad. It's really getting bad. Um, you see, it was some more on this video. This one was a little bit. So the first one we looked at was sort of just like informing us on what happened with Floyd. This one was more commentary about people in the know, kind of just speculating on what may happen to him and what he actually did and so forth. Uh, so let's watch a little bit more. All right. Fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use.
He is gone till November. And right now with Trump, people are not feeling good about Americans abroad getting in the show. They just not.
Yes, that's true.
They not. You know, if this was under Obama, they might send them back, just send them home and let them deal with them, and then America would prosecute him. But right now, man, he might get what he get. They might say, you know what, we're gonna prosecute you here in our country.
They probably will.
Your country
And
will do
the American
same.
embassy isn't going to defend him.
You know what?
They're not going to defend him. Especially, like I said, they'll look at his content and be like, "Oh, you out there like sitting there trolling and you know, trolling law enforcement. And you got 13 prior arrests in the country, and you were still able to travel to these countries and do what you do. Nah, go ahead and stay there."
His homeboy actions is wild as heck. Okay, yeah, that's true. Obstacles, opportunities, man. I really want to get your opinion on this, brother. What's going on? What do you think about this?
So, you know what I'm saying? I think I'm gonna look at some more content put out by Richie Mack, because I think it was Richie Mack who put out, who actually addressed the issue about, you know, the guy being weird in the past, because he wasn't, Richie Mack knew him or whatever, met him, but they weren't homeboys. Richie Mack was cool with Austin. I don't think he was homeboys with Floyd. I don't think too many people really rocked with Floyd. I think people would associate with him by proxy through Austin, because Austin seemed like he was a genuinely like cool person to know. Like, he seemed like affable. He was a cool dude. Some of the guys in the Passport Bro Facebook group I used to interact with said they even met Austin like in places like Kenya, and they said, despite, you know, how some people view him on his YouTube channel, that in person he was, you know, a really nice guy. And I find that very likely to be true. He seemed, I mean, I didn't uh always agree with stuff that he said, but he did seem genuinely friendly. And that's not something I can say about Floyd. Floyd always seemed a bit cringe. And it's like, if you're coming off cringe on these videos, not just on your channel, but on other people's channels, then it's probably just, that's how he really is. So let me play a little bit more. And again, if this gets demonetized, I'm just gonna take this down, and so it won't be replayed for broadcast. The broadcast won't be replayed. Hopefully it won't, because like I said, this is fair use. Unless BMT Live doesn't appreciate me using it, and then I can understand that. If he decided to copyright me, I wouldn't fight it. I'd be like, all right, that's cool, and I would take it down. But otherwise, fair use.
Trafficking back in 2010 with NGOs, and it was in broad daylight that it was happening. The mafia had massive amounts of power, so it would be broad daylight, and if you came over like, I'm gonna do something about it, yeah, you would get skitty pop very quickly. And so now it's not like that anymore. It's in dark corners in the web, it's hidden, it's hardly ready.
He's talking about how these people are able to get away with doing this trafficking and stuff through organized crime and so forth.
It was not like that. It was free for all. It was ridiculous. Like, even if some police force went in and found kids in a venue, they would just get paid off.
That's crazy.
They would just keep going. Like, but now that doesn't fly anymore. So at the end of the day, these processes have been built. This monitoring is there. Brazil is known for people going to go do that. I'm surprised he did it in Sao Paulo. There's other regions that people usually target because Sao Paulo is too big. Police force has a lot of resources. So
it's even a known activity. So it just makes it that he knew what he was doing when he went to Brazil. Like, he went there deliberately to do this sort of stuff.
And he's going to go through some hell, even if he's innocent, which he is now until proven guilty. But it's just going to be difficult. It's not like, I'm telling you, that accusation alone can get you beat up.
Yeah, in the third world country, forget about it. That's the case here in the U.S. I wish someone would go to central bookings in Baltimore City with a charge like that, they don't have to be convicted of it. Just the fact that they come into central bookings with that charge, if they not put in you know, if they're not putting in segregation, they're not going to make it.
All those that stay silent. Shout out to my man Running Travels.
They are not. You come into Baltimore and central bookings with a charge like that, like pretty, almost everyone in the city jail is in that life, whether it's the Black Gorilla family, Crips, Bloods, some other some other gangs. Um, and then now we got more Latinos in Baltimore. I'm pretty sure we got MS-13 in there too. So they are gonna they will be unified in tearing that ass up. No pause. No pause. So yeah, guys. I think I'm gonna try to find the what Richie Mack talked about this. Like I said, hopefully I'll be able to upload this for replay. If not, I understand, because I haven't done fair use before. Sometimes I'll show snippets of stuff, but rarely. But yeah, let me show you guys a little bit more. I know no one's currently in the chat room from what I can see, but again, if this goes on replay, it'll be appreciated, I'm sure. Let me wipe this camera down because it was looking a little muddy on my end. So hold up. Wait a minute.
Hey, man, enjoy Medellin. Enjoy that view, man. Medellin during the holidays is something unbelievable, bro. The lights.
I have not been to Colombia yet. My cousin goes there almost every month. He's trying to get me to come down there with him, though.
Absolutely.
I mean, he knows I'm married, though, but he knows I'm not on that sort of time. He just wanted me to come there because he think it might be a possible place for me to expatriate, aside from places like the Philippines. But Southeast Asia is cheaper to me than Brazil and Colombia.
I don't know, man. It's such a situation in South America. It's not like America.
Mind you, seeing the stuff going on, like this sort of stuff, doesn't happen to everyone. This happens to people like him that do crazy stuff, like operate a sex trafficking ring. Like apparently using a ride share to set up transport of minors to other expats for the purposes of sex, and using different fraudulent identities while Ubering young children. That is just so ick. The ick factor on that is just ugh. I don't. I hope the people that utilize the services go down with them. Honestly.
Somebody said was Floyd the mastermind. I don't think he was the mastermind. I just think that
Floyd was definitely not the mastermind. Anyone, like I said, if they seen his content, the dude is pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah, man.
He's cooked.
Okay.
Hey,
man, I'm gonna go ahead and end the show, man. We've been, we talked about this.
So
like
yeah, guys.
Man. I appreciate.
I'm gonna get to what Zoom to Thailand said about it, because I watched his stuff first before I watched anyone else's. All right. Let's see. Normally I'll be out exercising right now, but to be honest, I'm still full from what I ate earlier. Fried rice and hamburgers, the meal of champions. What we got here? What we got? All right. So again, fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use.
DMT, you broke this story. You was the first at it. What do you know so far about this?
Yeah, so far somebody has shared the story with me like early AM. Basically, the guy Floyd Wallace, who was attached, he was doing a lot of
Fair
travel.
use.
He got caught up doing some heinous things in Brazil, specifically in Rio de Janeiro, and it looks like he was trying to get out by going to Sao Paulo. They basically got a lot of evidence.
So he was already doing it in Rio. Shit got hot for him, so he went to Sao Paulo and start continuing doing it. Like, that's crazy. I'm gonna skip ahead. Like, I'm not trying to use all the Richie Max stuff here because, again, it's fair use, but I'm not trying to abuse it. Okay. And like I said, he using an app for trafficking is that's just crazy word, guys. Using an app.
Man, I heard that it wasn't a minor, that was a baby. Like from what I understand, allegedly it was a 6-year-old kid. Is that true?
That's crazy.
That?
Well, that was
that's crazy.
Was stated in the article. That was evidence of finding it on his laptop.
6-year-old. Like I said, guys, we're not even talking about teenagers, where at least a person can pretend that the person was an adult. You can't pretend that with a 6-year-old. That's a baby.
And they arrested him, and he's in jail right now. If everything is proven to be true, this is all alleged at this point.
And like we're all saying alleged, but come on. But he was already under investigation for a while.
They probably a sicko too. You got a video with dude getting taken down in the thing, and she's telling him why he's being arrested.
Now imagine you're gonna be in court and you won't even understand what's going on because it's gonna be all in Portuguese.
They might be riding for the other side. They got the reports in the G1. The G1 is like the CNN of Brazil. They saying he got 13 arrests in the States. Did you know that?
I know he did the police audits. I know he was in jail. I was familiar with that part.
Like I said, my thing is, other folks in the Passport Bro movement who knew the guy, who knew Floyd, why were you guys cool with him?
Say, hey, I'm not trespassing.
What's up, Carlton? Why were these guys cool with him? Why was Austin cool with him? Austin presumably knew him the best. They should have known that the guy was off. He was clearly on the spectrum. Like Floyd was clearly on the spectrum. I literally said this like 3 years ago that Floyd was on the spectrum.
If you hide, then we know you're doing something wrong. So that lets us know too. Because if you stand on business, you don't need to hide. I never met the guy. I don't know anything about him. You know what I mean? If he's innocent, hopefully he can prove that. If he's not, man, he should get exactly what he deserves. They got other YouTubers running around like, the booty goon. All these people need to hide, man.
Exactly. And you got other, like I said, you got other little YouTube travel vloggers doing similar crazy stuff. You got this guy, J Rello, who is in Kenya doing crazy stuff.
Concerns of minors and anything like that, man. That's sickening.
What about the fallout in Brazil? Have you heard anything about what's happening in Brazil right now? You talked to Skyler, heard anybody out there?
No.
And there's a bunch of YouTubers and Passport Bros in Brazil because Brazil was always the hot spot. Like Brazil has been the spot since the early 2000s, guys, for brothers. Like pretty much ever since Snoop dropped that song back in the day. Beautiful, and he was filming it in Rio. Every brother I knew was like, yo, I'm going out there. My friends, all of us was like, yeah, we going out there. And they did go out there. At the time when they went out there, I wasn't in touch with my friends. So
And that's me personally.
I
don't have
probably
any
would
kind of
have.
any kind of like association with anything.
I,
that
I
don't
probably
have any
would have went
control
with
over, because
them,
I don't know
and they didn't get
what's
jammed
going
up.
on
They
in
were
the
like, we were
organization.
all
Now, how does that work
decent
for you?
men.
Of you being
And so,
quote
yeah,
unquote
even Richie Mack from Zoom the Timeline saying he doesn't use the
the leader of
moniker
the
Passport
Passport
Bro
Bros,
movement because
whoever
he doesn't
captain
want to
and
be
all of that
affiliated
stuff.
with it. But he's talking to the very guy, BMT, who created that term, he coined the term. So let me, I'm going to rewind that a bit.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, they're gonna wake up and find out something crazy. I was making an episode called "Why I Don't Call Myself."
He said, I thought you were watching a movie. That footage looks clear.
That's me
Yeah, this
personally.
actually happened.
Any kind of
This is
like
crazy,
association with
man.
anything that I don't have any control over,
It's
because
like
I don't know
this
who's in
this
it,
sort of
what's going
stuff
on with the
between this,
organization.
that guy in
But how
named
does
J
that
Rello
work
in
for you
Kenya,
of
and
you
some other
being
incidents that
quote
I've heard
unquote
about.
could be considered,
I'm not
you
calling
know, the
myself
leader
a
of the
passport
Passport
Brody
Bros,
boy when I
whoever captain
travel.
and all
I
of
do
that
not
stuff.
want that.
Does
I
this
do
affect
not
you
want
and
the
your
stigma.
brand, or how do you look at it?
This is the thing. The brand has
I'm glad I
been
never bought
somewhat
the dumbass
controversial.
T-shirt.
For
So
the not necessarily
I'm
for
sorry, I
the
just talked
reception.
through it. Let me rewind again because he was just talking about it.
You and your brand, in terms of you being quote unquote, could be considered, you know, the leader of the Passport Bros, you
Fair
have an
use.
app and all of that stuff. Does this affect you and your brand, or how do you look at it?
This is the thing. The brand has been somewhat controversial from the not necessarily since the
Fair
inception,
use.
but from early on, going back and forth in the gender war. And when you have, so-called a media war, people will go as much dirt, especially people that lean in one direction, feminists.
My thing is, he kind of welcomed the heat back then because they were going back and forth again with the gender war in the black community. Yes, that was a thing. And then it spread beyond the black community. It became just basically American men who could travel versus American women. And like
it's just an ideology, it's a mindset, and all the mindset.
Then a lot of these sex pats across the country start calling themselves passport bros, and that's what messed it up. That's why a lot of former guys who consider themselves a part of the movement, like Austin Holloman, like Richie Mack, stopped using the term because too many people were jumping into the space calling themselves passport bros who were just sex pats. And like I said, shout out to BMT, but he kind of brought that on because the people in his Facebook group were openly flaunting being sex pats, including one of his moderators, Danny Flight. I'm gonna call him out. Danny Flight was a sex pat, and he used to just blatantly say, "Well, if you don't have a big sex drive when you're traveling, then there must be something wrong with you." I'm like, really? So he brought, like I said, I don't think he was being responsible in how he was more interested in spreading the passport bro movement as a business, and he pretty much let anyone in the space, and that's where it got tainted. And I talked about it for a long time.
But this started organically on TikTok, right? It was out of our hands. Once it hit TikTok and it went viral and it goes viral.
He's saying it went out of his hands. That's just not true. He, like I said, if you were in his Facebook group, they welcomed all that sort of debauchery, and no one checked anyone. Like if you try to check someone in the group for like flaunting like being a sex pat, they would say stop dick policing. They would say stop dick policing, stop dick policing.
We all know that guys aren't doing that. Like that's an individual who did some sick fish.
For whoever said the walls are green, that's just the light. They're actually like aqua blue. Carlton says, imagine going through passport checks in another country and the people at the gate asking, "Are you a passport bro?" I would be like, hell no, hell no, hell no. I would flash my wedding ring. I'm married. Nope. But yeah, I'm gonna try to find some more footage of Floyd showing how weird the dude is. Cause thought that Richie Mack had brought up some stuff on his video showing how weird the guy is, but he didn't. I must have been watching someone else. Um, I'll find it um, as we're conversing on here. Carter says if this behavior continues, they may ban Black American men from entering certain countries temporarily. Yeah, like I said, this is a huge L, not just for passport bros, but for Black men generally. Because as soon as this gets to the as, as soon as this gets to the Black female YouTubers, they're gonna eat this up. We're catching that L. It ain't no way. We're all the all of us guys who travel. We're gonna catch that L. The girls are gonna eat this up. I'm pretty sure they already. I'm pretty sure they are already like making videos as we speak. They just haven't. They just haven't hit hit the hit the YouTube airwaves yet, or if they have and I just haven't seen them because I don't watch the videos of the Black Gynosphere, or whatever you want to call it. Uh, but let me see if I can find something else that because I really want you guys to see how weird the guy is. Like he's really fucking weird. Oh, just as I spoke too soon. There's already a Black female already talking about it. Tanya TKO. Shout out to her. The title I can't even say her title. I'm surprised. I'm pretty sure her champ. I'm pretty sure this her video had to be demonetized just by the name of her video. It says Passport Bro, PEDOPHILE, and she says the Passport Bros PDF Floyd Wallace Jr. arrested in Brazil. So yep, it's bad. It's super bad. Mm-mm-mm. And like I said, it taints Austin Holloman a bit because people are like, "Yo, that was your boy." So let's. Ugh. And one black guy, Sunshine Shoulders. I don't really rock with his content, but shout out to Sunshine Shoulders. He's a YouTuber in the Philippines, older guy, like elderly. He's already saying, "Yeah, we're all Floyd Wallace in their eyes." I disagree with that. I think they're going to start seeing us in that manner, but no, we're not. They see Sunshine Shoulders in that manner because he's put out questionable content on his videos in the past, saying that we should just do the three Fs with these women. Um, but yeah, I want to give some more background on him. Austin Hallman put out some stuff too. Okay. Carlos says I like traveling to learn about other cultures, but now people will be giving me the side eye. Uh, I the way I say it, if you don't come off, if you don't give off that passport bro energy, I don't really think it's gonna be like that. I mean, people aren't stupid. Like, yes, they are gonna see a lot of us in that manner, but people aren't stupid. Like, generally, they're gonna be like, they know, like, they know some people give off that sort of vibe and others don't. Like if you don't one of them dudes coming there with all the little gold chains on, you trying to be swagged out looking like a rapper from the 90s, then yes, you give off that passport bro energy. If you there chilling, it doesn't look like you on some you on some sort of fuckery, you're gonna be good. He's an old dude was messing with someone underage. He's cooked. No, so he missed the beginning. No, what he was doing allegedly is that he was using an app to find and transport minors to other expats. That's what he was doing. And and it's alleged also that he was a part of a sex trafficking ring. He wasn't dealing with those underage kids himself. He was trafficking them to other people for money through an app, allegedly.
Floyd, traveler and content creator on the YouTube
Fair
channel
use, fair use, fair
Floyd
use.
Only, found himself in the vibrant city of Santiago, Chile. A local woman, a professional, was introduced to him to show him around town. Their initial meetup was postponed due to Floyd's last-minute cancellation,
And this wasn't a good
but they
one.
risked.
He said, well, it was over for him. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna get his day in court, but it's not looking well. It's not. I. It, there's no way he's beating this.
So last night was one of the darkest days I've ever had as a content.
Yeah. And like I say, he's been doing fuckery all over the place. Like apparently he was like he was originally doing it in Rio, and then went to Sao Paulo when shit was getting hot. So he was already under investigation then in Rio. Um, then looked like he might have been doing some fucked up stuff in Colombia before he hit Brazil. And like I say, he had 13 arrests in the States because he used to have a channel when he was based in his hometown of Omaha, where he would deliberately antagonize police and then put it on camera um, for his YouTube audience. And that doesn't make any sense.
2024, I released a
Here we go,
video
more.
called
Fair use.
YouTuber Goes Broke Clapping Cheeks. Now he's in jail. And that video was about a guy by the name of Floyd. And Floyd was a guy from Omaha, Nebraska, who was a very troubled individual. And he kept having
Meaning he's mentally ill.
So much so, Floyd would intentionally go and bother police on purpose.
We need to stop being nice when we're talking about people who are mentally ill. They're mentally ill. The dude is obviously on the spectrum.
Somebody called us,
told
us that
you Fair were use.
Messing around our police cars at the police department. We watched you on camera. You're hiding behind these cars, and we want to know what your business is around our police cars. Can you put your weapon away, sir, please?
The audacity. What? The audacity. And in any other time, he would have got shot. In any other time, he would have got shot. He is clearly on the spectrum. The very fuck of it all. Man, I can't. All right, and so yeah, so shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. I know I've talked about the brother, but he puts out good content. I don't agree. I don't put it this way. I would love to talk with O'Shea. Like he is smart, and I disagree with him vehemently on a lot of things, but he puts out good content. That is undeniable. That is undeniable. I just don't always agree of his assessments of what he puts out, especially because he comes at it from a pro-black perspective. I don't have that perspective. My perspective is what is rational and what isn't, and what's what is in my best interest, what isn't. Like that's where I come at it. I don't come at things from his perspective, but sometimes I agree with stuff that he says. And like I said, he gets at why the guy was so cringe. And like I said, I said that, like, I was a nobody 3 years ago when I was first had my YouTube page. I had like what five? I had like what 5 followers. Like, who was gonna listen to a guy with 5 followers saying there's something wrong with that YouTuber? They weren't gonna listen to me. I wouldn't either. But that's how it is. But fair use.
across the world just so that he could do this. Tell him. So can you cook?
This is where he went viral
Yes. I can cook, I can clean.
3 years ago.
Yeah, see, this is why I came to Thailand to find a traditional woman. See, in the United States,
Fair use.
All they do is complain. And you don't got time for that. That's why I got my passport, and I've left. I've left the United States to come seek a wife to have a traditional relationship. So you see, a guy like Floyd thought that going over to Thailand with other people's money and then throwing it in the faces of American women
Right.
would be showing them something. Look.
Sorry, I'm back. So what's crazy about that? What's crazy about the brother is that right after he did this video that I just showed with him with the Thai girl saying she's wifey material and saying he came to Thailand to find a traditional woman, blah blah blah. The very next week, he was filming content in the Philippines with Austin Holloman saying, "Yeah, I've been bagging all these chicks in the Philippines." I'm like, but you were just sitting there talking like you are the problem, bro. Like, he was literally just in Thailand a week ago talking about how, or 2 weeks ago, I don't know, because it's usually a gap between when they actually put out the video to when they actually filmed it. So I'm assuming it was between 1 and 2 weeks. But within that time that he was calling this girl wifey and this and that, and this shit went viral in 2022, saying all these people saying, look how this young brother found love in Thailand and blah blah blah. The very next week, he's talking about how he's bagging all these chicks in the Philippines. And it's like, you can look at him. I'm sorry, but and I'm gonna say this. I don't care if it offends people. There's a look to people who are autistic that you can tell is something wrong with them. You can look at the guy and you know it's something mentally off with him. You can tell he's on the spectrum. It doesn't take a whole freaking degree like I have in psychology that you can look at someone's tell that they're on the spectrum. You can tell by their mannerisms, and it's just a look in their face that it's just, this is gonna be mean. This is gonna be mean, but I'm gonna say it anyway. There's a certain look in the eyes of an autistic person that just looks like they're stupid. And I think that's because one of the one of the features of people with autism is they lack empathy. So I think that comes about in their mannerisms. So Carden says, yeah, for sure. Black American men about to get temporarily banned from other countries because of this clown. I don't think we're going to get banned. I think there's going to be extra scrutiny on us. Um, you know, like many countries have, like a thing where they screen people for being undesirables. I think that's going to be put in. That's going to be more used more heavily for people entering these countries, particularly Colombia, Brazil, and Thailand, because those are the three spots that they frequent the most. Oh, and the DR. Then there's other places we frequent a lot as well, but less so, like the Philippines and Vietnam, Cambodia, places in Eastern Europe. Well, before the war, Ukraine definitely, and then like Lithuania, Poland, Germany. So there's going to be extra scrutiny, particularly in those, like I said, the places where you see the most brothers traveling to frequently, which is again Colombia, the DR, Brazil, and Thailand. There's gonna be more scrutiny, but they're not gonna ban us outright. They still want our money, and they know by and large the majority of us, whether we're there for fun time or for business, they know most of us aren't gonna act up. but there's gonna be more scrutiny because of this. Carla said she looks like my cousin, a light skinned black woman. Bro, you it if I don't know if you travel or not, uh, but if you do, we can link up. I will show you places in Thailand. They are as dark as me. I don't know if you're a brown skinned guy or not, but I've seen like brown skinned Thai people. But look at the champion Thai boxer Bukal. Bukal is dark. He's not my complexion, but he's like he's like one shade lighter than me. Bukal. Like a lot of those folks from those parts of Thailand, like the Isan region, they are dark. Like I remember my wife and I, we were in Bangkok walking, and this lady just screamed at me because she was I guess she was shocked to see some black guy. Like, and I didn't touch her or whatever when I walked by, but I might have I might have just scared her because when we walked by it was dark. But like I said, I was with my wife, um, and it probably just scared her. She was like, ah, no. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm looking at her, and she's like dark skin, right? And I'm like, the nerve of this bitch yelling at the sight of me. I was like, shit. My father and my grandmother are lighter than she is. Like like my grandmother before she passed away. She looked like an old Korean woman. My grandmother looked like an old Korean woman. Like I was like, my grandmother looks more Asian than you do. It was like the nerve of this woman yelling. But yeah, in Thailand, Cambodia, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia, there are uh, I've told you about this, and I've said this on my channel before. There are indigenous people who who are uh, who are black people, and I say like in the Philippines they call them negritos, meaning little black people. Literally, that literally means little black people, and there's negritos, and there's three different groups of them. There's the northern the northern Aita, the southern Aita, and the Acta. And they're three different groups just because they arrived in the Philippines in three separate waves. So they are so it's funny like they're they're dark skinned people, but they are considered Austronesian, but like ethnically they are Austronesian people, but they've retained more of their African features because of the migration route they took out of Africa to Southeast Asia. So the so-called fancy Asians or northern East Asians, which typically are the Japanese, Koreans, and the Chinese, and and Mongolians, their ancestors took a different migratory route out of Africa, coming out of Central Asia, whereas Southeast Asians are a blend of both the Asians that came out of Central Asia and the people who came out of Africa down a down across India. And at that time, Thai, Indonesia and Malaysia were all connected by a land bridge to India. So that's how they got to that's how they got into Southeast Asia. And so you have indigenous black people in these Southeast Asian countries. Most of them now only live in the remote areas because as the Asians uh, from the northern parts of East Asia, predominantly the dynastic regions of China at the time, spread into Southeast Asia, those groups became like the predominant groups, the majority ethnic groups in those places. But they mixed in with those folks. So, like I said, you can go. Like I said, you'll go to the Philippines, and you'll be shocked. You might you end up visiting like a Aita village, and it's like dark skinned people. If you haven't already, I do actually have footage of that of my wife visiting a Aita village, and you can see these people for yourself. So yeah, and then you got like yeah, you said I've seen uh you said yeah I've seen some YouTube videos with some dark skinned Asians with afros. Yeah, like those Melanesian people are like dark skinned, but they have a unique genetic ancestry where they've retained recessive genes that cause blonde hair and blue eyes, even though they have dark skin, which is that's quite a mix. um, Carlin says, I have a niece with two black parents, but she looks Asian. I see a lot of black people that look Asian. Well, there's a good reason for that. I mean, the African continent is actually the most genetically diverse place in the world, which makes sense because being that Africa is the birthplace of humanity, it would make sense that it has the most genetic diversity. So a lot of the so-called chinky-eyed look that you see some black people having was is well represented in sub-Saharan Africa. You um, particularly amongst it's a group of uh, it's a group of different tribes within East Africa that have that uh, epicanthic folds under their eyes or the so-called slanted eyes that you would normally see in East Asian people. There, like I said, there's groups of Africans that have that look. The reason why you would see it represented in parts of Africa and it came to East Asia is because basically epicanthic folds around the eyes are like sun goggles protecting the eyes from the glare of the sun, and in the sun and as the majority of East Asians ancestors came from the steppes of came from Central Asia, where on the steppes of Central Asia you had to deal with the glaring sun. It be it became a useful adaptation to have slanted eyes, which is the epicampic folds around the eyes. But anyway, I want to get back to let me get back before I stray too far from the original subject. With Floyd Wallace crazy, but I lost my. I gotta go back to the search. But yeah, it looks like Floyd Heilemann finally addressed it too. But I don't know if this was before or after people criticized him for trying to say that Floyd Wallace behavior was due to him embracing passport bro and red pill content. I'm like, come on, no, you you just gotta call it what it is.
Can you look up the videos from if you go back
And
to
and you know the most hatred passport bros get is actually not from the women. It's from men. It's men that have been the most critical because it's usually men who feel the most envy that they can't do the things that the passport bros do. A lot of these dudes are married. I'm married, but I'm married to someone overseas. But you know they're married here in the states. They have kids, usually illegitimate kids, for which they're paying child support. Their jobs don't allow them to travel, and they have a lot of bills, so they can't travel. So they're salty about passport bros. So the biggest haters to passport bros have not actually been American women. It's actually been men, typically black men, hating on the black men who can travel. But yeah, I'm not gonna bring up any videos from women because you can already see where that's gonna go with them. Like he, you know, I already see how they would attack this, and you know, criticism about Floyd is fair game, and even about the passport bro movement generally is fair game. But they, you know how they're gonna take it too far and say yeah, all these men are blah 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 blah, and I'm just not interested in that. But some of these people, the way they are
So
doing
today
their
we have
videos, it's like they don't care about being monetized. Like they're just going for the shock value so they can get clicks. But yeah, let's hear what Austin has to say. Fair
so
use,
today
guys.
we have some horrible news that I'm going to relay to you guys about someone that has been on my channel previously, and it is an American man that
This is Austin Howman, guys. Shout out to him.
To a lot of stuff. It's an
Fair
American
use.
man, a Black American man that has been arrested in Brazil for trying to engage in sex with minors. I guess in Rio, from what I saw, and they caught him in Sao Paulo. And if you guys don't know,
No, he was running. He was
in several.
He was using an
videos,
app
and we
to
all
transport
know
minors to other people
that Floyd was very,
to have sex with minors.
crazy and very strange. And I'm telling you from hanging out in person with him, very strange.
Okay, so now he's see this is my issue. So he's admitting that he knew that the guy was weird and cringe. I literally said this 3 years ago, and it was a bunch of people all in the comment section in his videos, in other people's videos where Floyd appeared, saying it was something off about this guy. And it's like, if you knew that, why were you hanging with him? Like he's acting like the way I'm gonna let him finish, but he's acting like they weren't homeboys. Like if you're hanging out with another dude, you know, in another country, he is a friend or at least an associate of yours. You can't pretend like you got you can't do that whole little rat beef thing where like, I really mess with him like that. Carden says Floyd will go to prison, and then when he's released, he'll probably go to prison in America. Dude, the thing is, he may not make it to prison unless they put him in segregation. Like all the folks that were talking about the how the jail, the how people are to catch cases like that in Brazil, they usually don't make it. Like they were saying, these folks get dismembered and beat up badly, sometimes deleted if they're not put in segregation away from general population. Just off the charge alone, that's even before they're convicted. So he may not make it back to America even after he served his time. And whatever time he does get in Brazil is probably going to be football years. We're talking like he'll probably get football years in Brazil for this. It's not going to be some casual 5 years and then 5 years parole and probation like they do here. They're going to throw them football years at him. Let me let Austin continue.
And we all know that Floyd was very, very cringy and very.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like all of them knew this, and this acknowledges what I said 3 years ago. I was like, because not just I, but I and many others had left comments for years on these videos where Floyd appeared saying, I was like, come on, you guys can't tell this is something off with this dude. And especially with Austin, because like, yo, Austin was hanging out with him. Like the other people were around Floyd by association, but these two were actually hanging out together. And I'm like, come on, bro. Like this dude is on the spectrum. It's like, I was like, he gotta realize that Floyd is on the spectrum. He was just off in so many ways.
Strange. And I'm telling you from hanging out in person with him, very strange. I would have.
But at least he's honest and say, yeah, I was hanging out with him. So shout out to Austin for at least being honest. Say, yeah, I did hang out with him. I'm glad he's not denying it and saying, oh, well, I just knew about him. Because some people be doing that when when one of the homies get in trouble, but they not trying to be associated with him. Like, I knew of him, but you know how politicians always do that shit. Well, I knew of him. Sort of like certain people with Epstein. You can fill in whatever politician you want because there are several that you could fill in the blank there. But several politicians will say, "Well, yeah, you know, I knew Epstein, but we weren't like friends." Like, word, you weren't? Okay.
Never thought nothing like that, but it's also not shocking. Like it's based off how strange he was, it's not shocking. But when I was with Floyd, I never seen him look at any children or anything, or maybe I didn't notice, but I never seen that kind of stuff, and I never even heard him
Right, I
bring
knew
up
of
or
him,
hint
right?
at it. And he only seemed to talk to adult women when I was around. But this shit is like really, really like this is
And see, this is the second time, like, not that Austin is responsible for it. I want to make sure that I'm not associating him with these dudes. But this is the second time, like, he has someone like messing up his space because I believe Austin is still living in Kenya right now, and he and O'Shea Duke Jackson had to deal with another cringe passport bro YouTuber named Jay Rello, who has an OnlyFans, I think, or he like claps women's cheeks on Twitter, like on live, like he will live stream, apparently clapping women's cheeks on Twitter because Twitter allows porn, right? Um, and that's how he's made money. Like people would watch him. I'm like, word, like that's crazy. And so he went to Kenya and allegedly like beat on this woman, and you know it got bad enough that the Kenyan government was coming after him, and like the locals wanted to put hands on him. And so like people like O'Shea and Austin were like, you know, they they wanted this guy out the country too because it was making it look bad for other black men in Kenya and Uganda. Right in that little region, it looked bad upon them. So it's like they had to. It's like when your community, when that person is a part of your community, when you're an expat in some other country, like it looks bad upon your community when that person from your community is messing up. Um, and so this guy, like I said, this guy Jay Rello was apparently clapping cheeks in Kenya. He was on camera hitting this woman, and then he was talking about. And then the dumb thing is, so he clapped the cheeks or whatever, but he was then saying that these African women were ugly, that these Kenyan or Ugandan women were ugly, saying it's like on a live stream, but then you still clapping cheeks with them. It's like so you're insulting, so you're you're in someone's country openly insulting their women, and you're putting hands on them during a live stream. So he hid out in the Airbnb for like several weeks or months, whatever, and I think they got him out of the country. But it got to the point where Austin and others within the Black American community over there was saying that if they had to, they would, might have to use. I don't want to get him in trouble. I would just say they might have to find extra judicial ways of getting that guy out of there because it was looking bad upon them. So it's like so first you had this Jay Rello situation messing up his own comfort in Kenya, and now you got this guy who's associated with him because he used to hang out with him and be in his videos, being caught doing this stuff in Brazil, and so it makes it look bad for him. Not to mention that a lot of people might remember that Austin Holloman himself caught a little bit of legal trouble 3 years ago in Brazil. I'm not going to go there because I don't know what happened. Like some people say he got chased out of the country. He said that he was already leaving the country for Thailand before the drama erupted. I don't know, but he was young at the time, I believe, what, 20, 23, and he probably was being a little haughty in how he talked about how easy it was to bag women in Brazil. And that was probably not a good thing to do, especially while you're still in the country. Because he originally wanted to settle down in Brazil. Did I say Colombia, guys? I meant Brazil. But I remember when he first started filming his content, when he really got big, he started in Brazil. And he was saying at the time he was going to live there. So it kind of made people think that, yeah, he was chased out of the country, because if you were saying you were going to settle down in Brazil and then this stuff happens around the same time that you leave, the association is that you got up out of there before that legal trouble hit. But again, that's alleged. And he's been on record several times saying that wasn't the case. He didn't get chased out of the country, that he ran afoul of this feminazi, who didn't like the content he was putting out. But whatever. Oh, and yes, that is Mrs. Contrarian and the screensaver. So let him talk a little bit more. Fair use.
This is like just crazy.
He's Escape from Kenya in a movie.
I've heard of pedophilia before, so I'm not really. It's not nothing new. I mean, this stuff happens a lot more than you think. There's a lot more people than you think that are involved in this kind of stuff. And to go further into it, you guys have heard me say on my channel, especially with like this whole hyper masculine, a lot of dudes that follow that red pill, super female traditional role thing. If you look at their, what do you call it? I'm sorry, I just woke up. I had to record this as soon as I woke up.
See,
those dudes that have their criteria for the type of women they want. They want a woman that's a virgin, that's young enough.
All right, so that's enough of him, because, again, he's, first of all, he was on that time too 3 years ago. He was on that red pill time too. He literally used to have a hat that he used to wear back then that he had made, talking about, I forgot what it used to say, but he used to have this little hat, that he used to wear, that, and I think he used to sell the merch as well, saying something that basically mocked American women. He was on that time too. So trying to blame red pill content for what Floyd did is just no. I'm sorry. Shout out to Austin, but no. That doesn't, that literally does not follow from what happened here. Like, no. But yeah, trying to claim the red pill for what happened is that's just crazy work. Carlos says dudes have to be careful on how they move about overseas. Absolutely. That was always the case though. You always, when you, as a guest in another country, you always have to conduct yourself as if you were an ambassador to your country, especially for Black men. We already know that we have a negative ethnic image, before we even go overseas, because most of what people know about Black people was through music and movies when they go overseas. I mean, for the people who live overseas, like even today, you can go to places throughout Asia and parts of Eastern Europe, the Middle East, where they've never seen like Black people, especially not Black Americans. They may have seen like Africans or something of the sort, but they have not interacted with Black Americans. So, look, coming at it from that viewpoint, you have to, like, you should see yourself as a representative. Like, I know it seems unfair, but you have to carry yourself as a representative of your folks when you're overseas. But yeah, what I'm not buying that excuse saying, well, it's due to the red pill content. And remember, I just said previously when we were watching snippets from BMT Live that one of the guys was already complaining on the BMT live stream saying that the fact that Austin was blaming the red pill and passport bro movement videos on Floyd's behavior is wild because it is. It does not follow. It it, it does not follow from the facts that what he did is a result of red pill content. On top of that, he already acknowledged it when he hung out with the brother that he was cringe and weird because it can't like if the thing is if it comes off on video that we can all see it, we know he sees it, but you didn't say anything about it back then. So that's to me it just comes and I'm not trying to get on Austin because he seems like a really cool guy. I know I've criticized him in the past, but I was criticizing someone who was a young man. Um, and it's 3 years later. He's a little bit older. I think he's like what 25, 26 now. Um, Still a young dude. Like anyone under 35 to me is like basically a kid. Till you hit at least 35, you're basically a kid. But yeah, he should have spoke up about how cringe the guy was a long time ago when people were flooding the discussion threads talking about why are you hanging out with this weirdo? What is wrong with him? He seems off. And now he acknowledges it. By the way, Merry Christmas to everyone. I know it's Christmas Eve. Um, I was definitely not going to do this tomorrow at Christmas, and I almost wasn't going to do it today, but it was slated for last night, so I was like, let me do this now, especially while I'm still digesting food because I was still full from what I ate earlier, and I was like, well, while I'm waiting for my food to digest, why don't I just do this stream? But again, Merry Christmas to everyone who celebrates. Happy Hanukkah. Um, Happy holidays to everyone else if you don't celebrate anything. Or, the funny thing is, I don't know how Happy Holidays got controversial, but before people used to say Happy Holidays, we used to just say season's greetings. I was a kid, but I do not remember in the 80s nor the early 90s that season's greetings was controversial. But Happy Holidays was. I I don't get it. I, and mind you, I'm an atheist. I still say Merry Christmas. I still celebrate Christmas. So it doesn't hurt me to say it or to hear it said to me. Nor does it hurt to hear someone say Happy Holidays to me or whatever. But I don't know, guys. So I don't know. Is season greetings still less controversial? Or is that controversial by default now? Unless you say Merry Christmas, I don't know. But you know, for everyone who celebrates, hope you have guys have a good holiday. It would be better for me. Um, you know, if the wife was here right now, she isn't. Um, we have plans though, so but yeah, you guys remember when they used to say seasons greetings? That was I don't ever remember that being controversial. I don't even know how Happy Holidays got controversial until people kept using it as a stand-in for Merry Christmas, and I'm like, how is that? Especially where I lived, it didn't seem controversial because living in the DC suburbs, you have so many different ethnic groups in one space that it just made sense to say happy holidays when next door you had people who are Buddhist, Hindu, Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, atheist, uh, Sikh, um, Jainist, um, or whatever. It's like it's like happy holidays just encompass everything because generally every major religion has something during the during revolving around winter solstice. So um but anyway, I'm out guys. Unless anyone had any more comments about Floyd, Wallace, about the passport bro, um, about Austin Holloman. I don't know the brother, so I can't really answer on his behalf. But I can just, I mean, if you had a question about, what kind of content he makes or something like that or whatever. But if no one has any questions about it, we can end this here. I'll give it a few seconds in case someone has some related question. Where's Floyd's family? So I think they're all from Omaha, Nebraska. So you weren't on, I think, when I was talking about it, how he started off as a YouTuber in Omaha, Nebraska, where he was a prank influencer, where he would. I can't even say he was a prank influencer is being nice, because a prank influencer is someone who does stuff with the intention of it being humorous. I can't really say he was doing it with the intent of being humorous, but he used to make content where he would antagonize the police and then put it while he was filming it and put it up on his YouTube, and it ended up having 13 different arrests across multiple states. And that's why people was like, "Well, how was he able to travel?" I was like, "Well, simple. He didn't have a sex charge, and two, anyone can get a passport." Like I said, it's very people. This is why I kept criticizing people like Kevin Samuels and some of the black women 3 years ago, saying a lot of you guys can't travel overseas. It's like, yes, you can. I was like, pretty much anyone can get a passport. Like I said, unless you owe back child support, you can't get a passport. Um, or you have a court order that prevents you from having a passport. Otherwise, the only two crimes to prevent someone from having a passport is either international drug trafficking or treason. That's it. Um, but depending on the particular country to which you want to travel, now they might have further restrictions based on you having a checkered legal past. But that's up to individual countries. But apparently the places he went did not have those restrictions on him because he had 13 prior arrests. As far as I know, he may have had 13 prior arrests, but he wasn't a felon, so he could travel freely. And I think his old channel of is still up of him with the content of him harassing police. Like, and I showed this earlier when I was showing the fair use footage of him through I believe O'Shea Duke Jackson, um, showing his audacity and provoking the police and saying, "Put down your guns." Like, this dude would have got shot in a different day and time. Like, imagine doing that in some sundown town. If For you guys who don't know what a sundown town is, that is a town typically in the south or the west or even in the north where a black person better not be seen when the sun is down. Oh, because imagine if he did that trafficking stuff in Singapore. Oh yeah, that's instant death sentence. Like, he's getting a death sentence. I I think it's a death sentence. I know I with narcotics trafficking, it's a death sentence. I don't know about sex trafficking. I think sex trafficking is a life sentence, but it could be a death penalty as well. I'm not sure. If I were to gamble on it, which I would not do, I would say probably a death sentence, but definitely any sort of narcotics possession, not even trafficking, just having possession of narcotics in Singapore is a death sentence. Possession, not trafficking, possession. Singapore doesn't play, but Singapore is also the safest country in the world as well. So you have you have uh very strict laws, but Singapore is a thriving country with that is the safest country in the world right now with the most powerful passport. It used to be Japan. Japan fell to number two, and Japan is also considered one of the most safest countries in the world. And it also, even though it is a westernized nation, Japan has uh, a a very strict legal system. They don't play with trafficking as well, as far as narcotics. They don't play with people having weapons. Um, and I'm pretty sure with sex trafficking and all that sort of stuff, they don't play with that either. So, yeah. But yeah, but yeah, and so like I said, so Singapore has the most powerful passport in the world. Japan has the second most powerful passport in the world, and it goes kind of hand in hand with those being the safest places in the world to live as well. So, and like I said, as far they don't about you better not have drugs in those in either of those countries. Now it's not a death sentence in Japan, but it's definitely in Singapore. I think in Japan it's just like a life sentence for drugs, but they don't play. I wouldn't. I would not do anything. Just as a matter of fact, just, just, just as a matter of course, you should not go to anywhere in Asia with the intent in doing crime, where you're going to end up in Nat Geo's a new episode in the National Geographic's docu series about Locked Up Abroad. One of my that used to be one of my favorite docu series on the National Geographic channel. Show how people getting locked up in Thailand. You do not want to get locked. Look, they are not in these countries, in these third world countries. It's now there's no three hots in a cot. You don't sit there in the pen where you can watch cable TV and wait for your next meal to arrive. The only way you eating in those countries, well, they sometimes they will have food depending on the country. Other places, the only way you getting food is if someone on the inside brings food to you to eat. And you're not getting these little nice little cells where it's like two people to a cell. It might be 30 or 40 people packed in one cell. Good luck trying to sleep. Nah, no thank you. No thanks. Seth Crichton says authoritarianism isn't necessarily a bad thing. Yes, it is. It depends on. It's all in the implementation. Look, the best ideas can go awry if they're poorly implemented. Vice versa, something that may seem like a bad idea, if it is done, if it is done well by people who understand its limitations, it can still work out well. So, and I think that the latter happens to be the case in Singapore, whereas that sort of authoritarianism would go bad in most other countries. like China. It it can work, and I think also the size of the country, because Singapore is smaller than New York City, so you can get away with certain things in a small country compared to a very large country. This happens to be the case when we talk about democratic socialism in in Western Europe. They can get away with having higher levels of a social, you know, a social welfare net for their citizens. One, because these countries tend to be very homogenous, um, as far as ethnicity, tend to be quite homogenous, and the populations tend to be quite small. Like when people say, "Well, why can't America do what Finland is doing?" And I'm like, you realize, like, New York State is a just the state of New York alone is larger than the entire country of Finland. Like, so Carter says brothers had to put the weed down while visiting other countries. Look at Wiz Khalifa. What happened to him? Like, I know he's been to Thailand, and he's actually been training Muay Thai for several years. Dude was becoming pretty good at it too. But weed is legal in Thailand, but they've been trying to make it. They've been trying to ban it again, saying that it was bringing too many seedy elements to the country. And my friend and I, he's been on my videos before. Like, we were both saying, uh, if you still feel the need to smoke weed while visiting another country, just stay home. Why do you feel the need to have that habit while you're in another country? Like, you can't suppress that for a few weeks while you're visiting another country. You have to smoke weed. Like, you have to smoke weed when you go to Netherlands or to go to Thailand, or you go to countries where it's not even legal and use it, and then you lie and say, well, I had a prescription for it back in America, like certain WNBA players. Brittany Griner. But yeah. That's crazy. Anyway, it looks like it's done for old Floyd L. Wallace Jr., and I don't feel sorry for him. Like I said, people who are retarded need to stay home, and it was just obvious that there was something wrong with him. Austin admitted it himself, but he admitted it 3 years later when people were saying, "Why are you hanging out with that weirdo?" Oh yeah, Carter said he got locked up for 9 months. Yeah, Daniel says weed is legal in Thailand. Yes, but their parliament or whatever has put huge restrictions on it, because last year they were saying they were gonna make it illegal once again, and so they were warning foreign tourists not to come there for the purposes of smoking up, because once it's illegal, they will lock people up for it. Carlin says weeds attract pookie. Yeah, and that's what you're saying in Thailand. This is why Thailand has started being much more stringent in the people they allow into the country, and not only that, they're not allowing people to just because usually you could just recycle back and forth into Thailand. Like, you get your 30-day visit, uh, visa free, and then you could go to like a the neighboring country like Laos or Vietnam and Cambodia, and then come back and restart your 30-day visit. So they're starting to stop allowing people to do that. Like, they feel that too many unwelcome sort of people are coming into the country, and they're making it harder to get permanent residence visas. Daniel says, I have a question. Okay. Check through the chat here. Gotta make it snappy. It's getting late. What's it? But well, I'm about to make some coffee anyway. Do my Christmas night run. Well, Christmas Eve run because it's nice to run right around Christmas in the evening so I can see all the lights that's up. Then tomorrow I'll probably do it during the day. So so it's like I catch up with wifey. So let me drink some water while I'm waiting. Anyway, I hope my first attempt at fair use doesn't get me uh, copyright claimed. Oh, that's what's up. Carden says I'll be running too. And the bad thing about this whole incident is that trafficking is such a misused word nowadays. Um, but then you have this situation where this is the very definition of it. Whereas all too often you see people in social media spaces abusing the term, and then we see a guy actually accused of what trafficking really is. So he can't get around that by saying, "Oh, they're just overusing the term." No, they're using the term in this correct in this correct extension here. Then this is my wife isn't home either. I can't celebrate until she comes back home. I'm waiting for her. Trafficking is a term. Um, he said this is the definition of it. People use the term wrong exactly. Yeah, it's often like we saw this with the Diddy case. Like people were calling anything trafficking. Like having consensual sex with another person is not trafficking. Visiting someone across state lines isn't trafficking. But that Diddy ran afoul of a of a law in the early 20th century to stop to stop a prominent black boxer from having relationships with white women because and I'm talking about the champion boxer Jack Johnson. um he was fond of white women and he used to beat up white men as a boxer. He wouldn't even fight other black boxers, he only fought white boxers. And he flouted the fact that he dated white women, and so they came up with an act. I forgot what it's called, the John something Act, um, where it became a crime to travel across state lines with women that you intended to have relations with, which is just crazy. That is not trafficking at all, unless you were paying them to do so. And usually the trafficking carries the connotation that is against their will, and none of that was the case when it came to Jack Johnson. And this was what was used against Diddy. Carson says he better pray Trump gets him out of his bind. Well, if you talking about Diddy, I don't know. Now he and Diddy used to actually be friends, but remember, everyone turned against Trump when he ran as a Republican candidate. All of a sudden, he became evil and racist and misogynist, and a PDF and all sort of stuff. No one had a problem with him when he was still a Democrat. um, and so 50 Cent, even being the troll he was, even wrote a letter to the White House saying that he should not help Diddy because of the because of how Diddy basically talked ill of Trump when he came into office. So I don't know. Yes, he can always. There is always the potential for a presidential pardon, but we'll see. He's gonna have to kiss a lot of ass, which for Diddy shouldn't be a problem. He's gonna have to kiss a lot of ass to secure that pardon. I mean, because Trump has done this before for hip hop celebrities. He pardoned Lil Wayne. If people forgot that in his first administration, he had pardoned Lil Wayne. He had got ASAP Rocky out of jail in the Netherlands. So the Mann Act, yep, that's what I was referring to. The law they used against Jack Johnson because saying he was transporting white women across state lines for the purposes of sex. Daniel said, "Yeah, that's not trafficking at all unless you were exactly used against Diddy." Yeah, right. That so like I said, you have trafficking used in these broad terms, which just applies to having consensual sex with someone. Then you have it in this case where this is a concrete example. You have minors being transported to adult men through an app for the purposes of sexual exploitation. That is so heinous. I, so I feel no pity for Floyd. Plus, like I said, Floyd was a weird individual in the first place, and I don't think he needed to travel. He since the beginning of the passport movement, he had been an embarrassment to the movement. And like many others have said, why didn't you brothers who were YouTubers who knew him called him out back then? Not for the minor thing, because again, Austin said none of them saw him doing anything when it came to minors, but they did recognize that he was cringe and weird. And I was like, I'm sure that most of these guys have checked their comment section and saw people talking about Floyd years ago saying, "What is up with that weirdo?" Like, why didn't you call him out back then? Because, he was your friend. I get it. I was like, so admit that he was your friend, and you just gonna have to take the L with the fact that you knew that you were cool with a guy that was capable of doing something so fucked up. Oh, Carson says now I was referring to Floyd. He better hope Trump gives him. Oh, Trump ain't helping him on that. Ain't no way in hell. Especially when you're a passport bro saying fuck America. Like, you're basically saying you need to leave America because America's cooked, and you got a whole YouTube channel before you became a passport bro of you harassing cops and getting arrested 13 times. Trump is not pardoning him, not whatsoever. Diddy has Diddy has a better chance of getting pardoned by Trump than Floyd. And nah, shit. R. Kelly has a better chance. R. Kelly has a better chance. Daniel says, did 50 have beef with Diddy? Yes. Where have you been? If you're on Instagram, you should follow 50. He's had an ongoing beef with Diddy for like 20 years. He's had a beef with Diddy for 20 years. I don't know where you've been. Why was he timed out? Uh-oh. Oh, Streamlabs did that. I don't even what rule wait, what rule did I implement that he ran afoul of? My apologies, Daniel. I don't know why the Streamlabs. I'm trying to see what he wrote. It was probably it was probably a word that that I've put in the algorithm to keep people from saying, but I don't know. But it only timed them out for 1 second, so I apologize. What did you say, Carlton? Oh, you said yeah, quote unquote racist Trump quote end quote is always saving black folks from the trouble they put themselves in overseas. Yeah, like I said, when ASAP Rocky got in trouble in Netherlands, I was like, man, fuck him, let him stay over there because especially because ASAP was like, I don't care about black issues, I don't care about Black Lives Matter. I'm just here trying to make money through my music and through my fashion. I'm like, all right, keep that same energy. So when he got in trouble a year later in the Netherlands doing some dumb shit, we should have let him stay right where the fuck he was. Trump was literally on Twitter saying, y'all need to, the Netherlands government needs to let ASAP Rocky go. I was like, so you basically have the equivalent of an American president saying, free my mans. That was that's basically what it was. When you got Trump on Twitter saying that the Netherlands need to release ASAP Rocky, he's innocent. That's basically the that's basically like the white equivalent of the American president saying free my mans. And it was like on one hand, I was like Trump will really look out for you, but on the other hand, I'm like he chose the wrong person to look out for. But it's just so funny that no matter how many counter examples we have to him supposedly being racist, people will keep saying that he is, even though Joe Biden was way more racist in his political career than Trump ever was. But that's because people believe things for reasons not connected to hard evidence. So there you go. Um, Daniel says Trump is not a racist. Trump is the best thing that happened to America. The best thing I won't say he's the best thing to happen to America. That's a tall order there. But what I will say is, in the current political atmosphere, he is what we need. He's the hero. He's not the hero that we need. He's the hero that we deserve. So, if you know your Dark Knight stuff, um, but I'm gonna end it here, guys. If people want to talk more about the Floyd situation, they can leave it in the comments. I'll check those comments out. It, if if more detail, because eventually more is going to come out about this, and I'll probably will make future live streams or videos of talking about it. So till then, guys, thank you. Hopefully this doesn't get copyright claimed, because I did say that I was trying to go abide by fair use practice. So again, Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. All the good stuff. See ya.